11、10、9、
Okay, so that's a little bit of cluster. That's the kind of thing that we send to council, which goes over, okay. And that had some people that you probably know and you've probably seen around here as well. But I'm going to move straight into it. So I'm going to give you some provocations throughout the presentation. So this one, intra-arts, practical necessity or art superpower in smaller city contemporary music presentation. So I'll let you think about that, but I'm not going to talk too much about it. So as a mini portrait, Cluster's been around for just about 10 years. We've done 9 editions, some stats about all the various things we've done. Maybe the most relevant part for our conference is that we're an equal co-directorate of three people who run the whole thing. We program based on our research, based on what we see, and based on open and specific calls. So some programming happens at places like this, other of it happens other ways. So you can see some of our funding, stats for our events. I put our mission up here, which is maybe going to be a little bit too long to read right now, but basically what we try to be is a platform for artists, whether that's people that are making that transition between disciplines, or who have always existed there, or are collaborating. We try to be sometimes a first site for what they're presenting, or sometimes presenting established projects. But we're always trying to catch people that are in between. So this sort of question of intra-arts at this conference is really at the heart of what we do. I talk in here a bit about how it's very specific to Winnipeg, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in the why intra-arts from day 1 section, which I'll get to in a second. Another provocation, which you can't really see because of the contrast, but was mentioned in actually the opening panel. So new for new music, but not new for anyone else. So this question of intra-arts and this exciting moment that we are in new music, I feel like it hasn't actually, many disciplines have been there for a long time. And I think I first became aware of this when I started talking to visual artist friends who they would go through school and they would study sculpture, painting, pottery, photography, conceptual art, and they would always arrive at something that was somewhere in between all these things. Whereas in music, we barely studied jazz. Like we stuck into our narrow new music boundaries. We might not have studied ethnography, so we stuck in this really narrow boundary, which is why I think it's interesting that in music we're arriving at this sort of intra-arts place, whereas other art forms have been there for a while. And I actually think music was there at a certain point, especially in the field of contemporary music. I think the 60s and 70s and maybe part of the 80s, we were kind of there, and then something happened. Maybe it never went away, and maybe that's just my perception, but we're definitely seeing it come back now. So for Cluster, we've been intra-arts since day 1. Actually, before we started the organization, that was part of our core mandate. And so one of the things is that Winnipeg doesn't have really an established new music audience or culture. There's the Winnipeg New Music Festival, which is kind of a big festival that happens once a year. Outside of that, there's Groundswell and there's us. But there wasn't like this sort of regular, we don't have ensembles really there, like new music ensembles. There wasn't a super strong new music program in the university at the time. So we kind of looked around and said, if we want to start something, who's going to come? Like, who are these people who are going to try to convince to come to our new music concerts? And so that was a moment right away where we looked around and actually, at the new music concerts that did happen, it was actually all the other art forms who were coming to the concerts. Musicians actually weren't even coming to the new music concerts. They were going to the, symphony and the whatever, classical masters and stuff. Whereas like the visual artists and dancers and all of those other people were regularly attending the new music concerts. And so we thought, okay, can we make something for all of us that isn't necessarily just new music, but that has that inclusivity around the other art forms? So I mentioned this before, we were inspired by other art forms where artistic development isn't discipline specific, so where this has been happening for a while. Before we started Cluster, we also had meetings with anybody who would listen to us, which was kind of funny because we were probably 20, I was 20 at least at the time, so we were like these little baby Muppets that were going around the city saying, we're going to start an organization. But we talked to a lot of people, whoever would listen, and we kind of asked them, like, what do we need here in our city? And at the time, we didn't have that many spaces where all these different art forms could come together under one roof. We have a sound festival, Excellence Center C, we have some music stuff, we have lots of dance in Winnipeg, but the place where these could come together and maybe encompass some digital and media art as well At the time, it wasn't really happening, so we thought, okay, this is our in. But we kept the title as Cluster New Music and Integrated Arts Festival to kind of acknowledge that we're also still musicians and composers primarily, so our perspective as a co-directorate is new music. And that, I think, spoiler alert, is going to change maybe in year 10, which is this year. I think we might lose the new music bit in the title. It might become something else, because I think we're starting to really solidly become something that isn't just the new music plus other things. They're all sort of running together. And the people that we hope to bring onto our team in the future aren't necessarily going to be music background, so we'll see. And the final reason for InterArts since day one is that it's the reality of younger artists right now, including myself. I was growing up as an artist, where we need to create opportunities for ourselves that aren't necessarily reliant on the structures of established funding, which fell into disciplines at the time, but also working with ensembles or working with collaborators of sort of established institutions. The reality of younger artists seemed to be that we needed to do things ourselves, cheaply, with our own technology, which Cindy mentioned, this sort of idea that technology has helped the InterArts, which I think is true, at least in music. So basically, we saw these things, and that's why Cluster began as an InterArts presentation organization. So this is another provocation. So beyond just adding a projector, because I think musicians love to do this, we love to like play some music with some projections behind it, which there was some of that in the video, so it's not like I don't do that either. But here's one project we did, which is called the Hurry Drone Companion, which was a drone music show. I know, terrible pun. But and here we did have projections, but we worked with a stage designer to build these cubes that sort of went in and out of visibility with projections on them. You can see Ray Kulimada and one of them, and some other musicians as well. So that's, anyway, one way we were like trying to go a little bit beyond the projector. But I think that's like a provocation for me that people who are thinking about InterArts is like, let's just get beyond having a video playing at the same time as playing music, unless that's what you really want to do. Principles of how I built an InterArts project. There were some really great threads of this actually in the discussion, with the idea of finding the roots of your artistic project, which don't actually exist in discipline. So for me as a producer, when I'm thinking about a new project, I consider the concept of artist first, outside of any question of discipline. So as somebody mentioned, I might think of a botanical garden and then start building around that, rather than thinking, okay, a music show, and then about this. We try to build events holistically, so by that I mean we're trying to think about all the different aspects of an event. So that can be from where it is, to who's there, how many people are there, what context they're there, what the art's like, how it gets funded, how it's staged. We really try to think about all of those things so that in the end, which is a word that I was using talking to Christopher earlier, the work is kind of generous to the audience, and it encompasses the audience in a way that helps them kind of enjoy and understand or experience the work. We try to think with equal senses of possibility and pragmatism, so we try to keep this open, boundless, limited imagination, but also draw it in when we need to. That's for all projects, but I feel with InterArts, when there's so much unknown, it's particularly important. And then a big one for us is embracing artist-led development and providing a platform for people. So really listening, like, what do you want to do? What's it that you've been waiting to do? Like, I like your old work, but like, what are you doing now? Or like, these sorts of questions, rather than like, I'm going to book you for that, unless that's what you want. And sometimes that's what people want. Okay, a small case study of a project that we're starting for next year's class, which is 2019. So this is called Up, Down, Strange. Basically what we're doing is we're pairing young emerging composers with media artists, bringing them together to try to create some sort of temporary practice for the composers that exists outside of writing ensemble music. So these are composers who are mostly like writing things in university for ensembles and things like that. We're trying to bring them together with media artists who, at this point, seem to be mostly interdisciplinary a lot of the time, and see what they can learn from each other, and help them sort of create these new pieces that exist both in installed form and in performed form. So some information there. We have sort of one lead pairing with an established duo, so that'll be Elliot Britton and Susan Britton, composer, media artist. And then the other ones are more emerging. We've got sort of support from different organizations on both the music and the media arts side. We're trying to be really open about what people want to do, so even though we have these ideas, maybe they are going to use musicians, but maybe they'll be able to do it in a different way. So I'm really rapidly speaking here. I'll try to slow down a little bit, I've got a tiny bit of time. But this is just an example of a project that we're doing now. We've done, I can see some people in this room who we've worked with actually in the past on InterArts projects as well. So we've got lots of other things. I guess you can pass the, maybe you've already been passing.
Yeah.
Great, fantastic. So there's some examples in there. This is like not so much a provocation actually, because I think we all agree it's like a valuable leap into the unknown. Like it's not, it can be a scary leap, but it's really useful to all of us to explore off the boundaries and in between the different boundaries, if there are any in the first place for artists. And I think this basically just summarizes what I was kind of just saying. So why the interarts, we're embracing the unknown, changing communities, artist development, and kind of in the council language, we're expanding and developing our own art form. I had lots of thoughts when I was listening to that panel. I think one thing that interests me is when we do, question maybe for the conference is like, when we do interarts, it's really, the challenge I found as an artist is not to dip into another art form and just do it kind of badly. Like, oh, you know, I just, I'm going to do dance, and I'll get up here and do a bit of a dance for you, and it's actually not very good because I didn't, you know, research the whole sort of body of work of dance and try to understand it. So I think sometimes for me, I worry a little bit about interarts in general, in that like I don't want to just be doing other things badly. And I see other disciplines sort of dip into sound and kind of feel this similar tension. So I don't know. I'm putting it out there. I'm wondering how we do interarts when disciplines or skills are skills and they have to be learned, but we also want to play around and go in between things. That's like 14 and a half minutes of my presentation. I know I just like motored through. I don't know if I said anything at all. But are there any questions?
I have lots of questions.
Okay, shoot me one question.
It's very specific though.
Yes.
When you're putting together an interarts program, you know, putting pieces together.
Yes.
Is there discussion about how it will be presented in the festival context as well? Is that an important part of it? Or
absolutely.
Like that?
Yeah. Like, do you mean with the artist or with each other as curators?
All of the above.
Yes. Yeah. Lots of contacts. I can speak when we were presenting Christopher at the festival. Christopher Willis. Everybody, he's speaking at some point. He was proposing to do a one-to-one performance, so that completely changed how we were kind of dealing with things at the time. I mean, we'd never done that. Now we've actually done it a few times, so we've gotten much more used to how that happens. But with Christopher, we had no idea at that point. We're like, are people going to sign up? Are there going to be people here? Where is it going to be situated inside the festival? It was a really wonderful project that involved speakers being placed on someone's body as they were laying down and vibrated. It was really, really beautiful, but we had never done that before. So we really did have to say, like, where is it going to be? How's it going to happen? How are we going to get the people there that are one-on-one? Like, are there any considerations? Like, and that was a lot. I remember Skyping a number of times trying to figure this out. And we kind of got there. Like, it was our first time doing that. So now since then, we've got like much better at dealing with that kind of dealing. We got much better at like facilitating that kind of environment. Any other questions?
I guess just in comment to what you said about doing something badly. I don't know. I think that can be really poignant and exciting sometimes. So I don't know. Maybe if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, totally. I think it definitely can be poignant. What I don't want to be is ignorant. I don't want to say like, what I really don't want to do is like do something that's like new in a different discipline and think that I reinvented the wheel. I really dislike when artists sort of like, especially with, I feel like maybe because I'm a musician, like I see artists sort of dipping into music and then like feel like they discover like noise or discover this thing and like ignore a whole body of like existing work. Whereas I think like, if you are thinking without disciplines, you need to research without disciplines as well. Like, you need to really put yourself outside and not just research music. If you're thinking about dance, research dance or research performance art, so that you're not just like regurgitating tropes that have been done for years and years and years. You know, if we're going to try to read something new, then it is about bringing that musical understanding or non-art understanding or wherever to like whatever you're doing. Yeah.
Who's your audience now?
Yeah, our audience has actually grown really nicely over the last 10 years. Tends to be artists, so artists from other disciplines as we were sort of shooting for. Also, there's like a growing creative class in Winnipeg of younger people that are engaged with the downtown, so that tends to be a big part of our audience is these people that sort of go to events downtown, and that's been really helpful for us. I would say we've picked up a few music people over the years, but still musicians are like not our primary audience, and I'm okay with that. Like, it would be nice. Like, I would love if you know, more of the symphony players came to our stuff, but they always have shows, and it's hard to reach people in that way.
What about like music people that just go to music, not musicians, but
yeah, like we've started to get maybe more of a gigging audience,
right.
Because we've started using venues sometimes that are more gig oriented. So yeah, we try all sorts of things. We'll put our events anywhere that we can find just to see what it's like and to see what new people we can reach.